morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are. Compliments of the day to you. My name is Karim Akib. I'll be taking you some topics in mathematics online. You can, however, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Akim Ola. That is the name of my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it, or you can log into my Facebook account on Akim Olatu to have access to some of the topic I have taught in mathematics. The topic we are going to consider today is law of indices. Indices is necessary in mathematics. Indices is necessary in the mathematics where you have to combine a lot of things together. For instance, you may be asked to add t raised to power 4 times t raised to power 5 times t raised to power 6. In a situation where you have a lot of things like this, the indices is necessary. Indices deals with the exponential, the power. Indices deal with the exponential, the power. And for you to apply the law of indices, you must have both base and power. For instance, if you consider what I have on the board here, the t here is the base, while the 4 is the power. Base, power, base, power. So if you have knowledge of this law of indices that we are talking about, then you'll be able to simplify this very well. The first law we are going to consider is known as the addition law, and it states as a raised to power s times b raised to power times a times a raised to power y. According to the law of indices, the basis must be the same for us to apply the law of indices. A situation whereby you have a raised to power s times b raised to power y, we cannot apply the law of indices to solve it. We are going to solve them separately, as in when the bases are different, they are not the same. But if the bases are the same, a, you are free to apply the law of indices to solve it. And this one here will now be equal to a x plus y, whereby the times here now will change to addition, and that is where it got the name from, addition law. For example, you may have, we may have 2 raised to power 4 times 2 raised to power 3. Of course, this will be equal to 2 raised to power 4 plus 3, which is now equal to 2 raised to power 7, of which we can still simplify further. The second law, or the second rule, is known as the subtraction rule. Subtraction rule, where you have a raised to power x divided by a raised to power y. We are going to take one of the a's, one of the base, then the division will now change to minus. That means the law now will now be equal to a minus y. That is the addition rule, the subtraction rule. So for example, you may have 2 raised to power 4 divided by 2 raised to power 3. This now will now be equal to 2 raised to power 4 minus power 3, which is now equal to 2 raised to power 1, which is equal to 2. Of course, you can see that indices, one of the advantages of indices is that it make our work to be simple. It simplify our work. It will not allow our analysis to be long. It's going to simplify it. We have the third law. The third law, we have the zero law. The third law is known as the zero law. For the zero law, we have a base raised to a power 0. This will be equal to 1. For instance, we have 100 raised to the power of 0. That should be equal to 1. The first law, we call that one the negative law. For the negative law, we have a base raised to the power of a negative number. That will now be equal to 1 all over a raised to power 1, which is now equal to 1 all over a. For instance, I may have 5 raised to power minus 1. 5 raised to power minus 2. 5 raised to power minus 2 now will now be equal to 1 all over 5 raised to power 2. The essence of the 1 all over something that we have there is to remove the negative sign here, and that will now be equal to 1 all over 5 raised to power 2 will now be equal to 1 all over 5 times 5, which is now equal to 1 all over 25. The next law we are going to consider is the fractional law. Under this fractional law, we have a lot of things there. Under this fractional law, we have a lot of things there. We have a situation whereby if I have a number like this, the square root of x in indices, or let me use a, I'll be using a all this while. So this one now will now be equal. If I'm going to write this in indices form, I am going to have a raised to power 1 all over 2. If I have a number here, a raised to power x, this is telling me that I'm going to have the s root of this number a. That means this one now will now be equal to a raised to power 1 all over s. Are we together? But in a situation whereby we have another number, root a x, now raised to the power of y, this will now be equal to a raised to power 1 all over x and everything raised to the power of y. And according to the law of indices, when you have a situation like this, a base raised to a certain power, and both the base and the power are now raised to an external power, according to the law of indices, the powers will multiply themselves together. That means you're now going to have a 1 all over x times y all over 1. And that will give us a y all over x. Now, we are going to stop here for now. Then in our next episode, in our next video, we are going to consider the application of this law of indices. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Akim Ola, and also log in into my Facebook account at also Akim Ola. Thank you and happy day.